Hello everyone. Welcome to ESGI's Celebrity Webinar Series. Today's topic is Wacky Wonderful World of Words. I'm Rochelle and I'm excited to be your host for today's webinar featuring the one and only Kim Adsit from Kindergals. We'll get started with Kim's presentation in just a moment, but first we have a few housekeeping details for you. For better audio-video quality, close other applications like Skype that use bandwidth. If you are having any audio or video issues, try refreshing or changing your browser. Today we will be using the question feature since everyone is muted during the webinar. If you have a question, type it in the box. Let's practice now. Everyone, find the question box and type where you are from. So great to see so many of you, and thank you for giving us weather reports. It's really nice to see if it's springtime or if it's still winter in a lot of parts of the country. For attending live today, you will receive Kim's Word Families unit. In addition, Kim will also include a link to resources that she'll mention during the presentation. You will receive a certificate of attendance for attending live. Your certificate will be emailed to you within a week. In that email, you will also get a link to today's broadcast. For our prizes today, 5 lucky winners will receive a 1-year ESGI license. No need to register for this prize. We will randomly choose from those in attendance. Also, every person will be a lucky winner of that unit that I mentioned earlier. We at ESGI are thrilled that so many of you registered to learn with Kim today. Thanks to all of you who are dedicated to helping children and families. Now I'm going to turn it over to Kim and let the learning begin.
Hi guys from sunny Georgia, and yes, it is summer here, 90 degrees today. So it's very hard to make myself come inside and do this when it is so pretty outside, but I'm excited to talk to you today about words. And here's kind of the plan that I've laid out. I want to talk a little bit about sight words, and then vocabulary, and then about unknown words. What do kids do when they're reading and they get to a word they don't know? And then I want to share with you the freebie that I've made for you today. Okay? So first, let's look at sight words. Whoops, excuse me. All right, so when we look at sight words, the first thing we want to talk about really is how do children learn a word? Now, this is a big idea, and this idea, what I'm going to share with you now, it can be used for any of the activities that you already do, just with a little tweak. All right, so here's what we have. First of all, when you're working with sight words, the first thing we want to do is we want to show the child the words. Like if you're doing the word can, you show them the word can and you discuss it. You say it's got 3 letters. They're all short letters. You spell it C-A-N. This word is can. So you talk about the features of the word. Then you're going to either mix it up or cover up the word. All right, now what the children have to do is they either want to be using magnetic letters or a dry erase board or a sand tray. No paper pencil here because they have to make the word without looking at your word. Okay, now why are we doing that? Well, what we have to do is we have to train the brain, because the way the brain works is when you show them the word can and you say write this word can, what they do is they write the C, then they look back up at the card, and then they write the A, and then they look back at the card, and they write an N. So the brain has not written the word can, it has written the 3 letters C-A-N. So what we want to do is we want to train the brain to look at the word as a chunk. Probably a lot of y'all, if you taught back in the 80s, you remember when we did word configuration. You don't hear as much about that anymore because no one really ever told us why we were doing it in the first place. Well, the configuration actually helps the children know what the word is. It's how children can tell the difference between like and look because the configuration is different. Okay, so when they look at the word and they make your word, so let's say they just write a C. Okay, so you show your word, you look at their word, you say, does your word look like my word? No, so then you have them erase their word, mix up the magnetic letters, whatever they're doing. You talk about the word again, and then you try it from the beginning. Now, I will tell you, be patient, because the first couple of times you do this, you really want to pull your hair out because they can't get it on any of the words. But what we're doing is we're training the brain to look at the word as a chunk. One of the questions that I got, I just went over them briefly from the pre-questions, and one of them was, do children need to know the letters before they learn the words? No. Children do not need to learn the letters. You can teach sight words and letters right along beside each other because they can learn that that word is C without knowing the letter is S-E-E. It's kind of like the kid who can recognize their name but doesn't know the letters in their name. They're looking at the configuration of those, okay? All right, so here's what it would look like. Here I am doing the word can. So someone once told me to put shaving cream on your table and that it would make your room smell good and it would clean your tables. Well, 2 hours later, after me trying to get all that shaving cream off the table, I said never again. So what I've done here is I've just taken black paper and taped it down and then put the shaving cream on the back paper. That way when it's over, I can just throw it away. So you can see I've shown them the word can. We're talking about it. Then you'll see where they're writing the word, I've actually turned my word around. Now, one of the big things that we want to remember when we're teaching words is the actual act of teaching a word is kind of the new kindergarten. The kindergarten that is very standards based. But kids did not just turn off their play learning mechanism when we went to this more academic kindergarten. So when you look at that little girl's face, you can see that even though she's learning the word am, she very much thinks that this is play. Okay? All right. Now, this is a terrible picture, I know, but it's the only one that I could find of the word wall because I wanted to talk a few minutes about the word wall. So what you notice there is that all of those words are in different colors under each letter. And here's why. My kids would say to me, Miss Adsit, how do you write the word the? And I would either have to get up and go show it to them on the word wall because I want them to know the word is over there, or I would have to send a kid with a stick to go point to the word for them, someone who knew it. But I decided if I color-coded the words and the kid said which word is the, I could just say it was the red word under T. All right, so then one day, this little girl that I taught, her name was Asiana, super smart little girl, she says to me, as we're doing the daily news and I go to write the word this, she says to me, it's a pink word. I'm like, I'm not using a pink marker, Asiana. So after some debate back and forth, I finally realized that what she was talking about was that the word was pink on the wall. Now, the reason why I'm sharing that is because when we teach children the alphabet, we often give them a connector. And what I mean by that is we teach children that turkey is the T letter and that the M is the monkey letter. We have that alphabet freeze, that alphabet chart that we use, but we don't do that for words. But the brain loves it when we can give it connectors. So what we've done here is the children have a mental image of all of those words under the T and the different color papers that those words are on. So that color actually provides a link for them to be able to remember. Now, because we want to have it where no two words that start with the same letter are on the same color paper, I created a document that when I stack up my paper and put it on the printer, that's going to happen naturally. Now, you can download this. I've already done it. I promise you, any word that you would ever need for kindergarten, if you're first grade and you're listening in, you might need to add some words, but there's like over 150 words that I put on the list. But you just stack up your paper and you print it and it's ready to go. Now, the place you find this is you go to the KinderGals Facebook page and you'll click on the Fran freebie folder. Before you do that, you have to click on like. You have to like the page to be able to get into the Fan freebie folder, and you will find that in there. Okay, if you have trouble finding it, just let me know, and when I do a blog post, I can, for the follow-up, I can be sure and put those directions in there for y'all. Okay, now, when you go to put up your new words for the week, whether you're doing 3 to 5 words, and a lot of y'all have asked how many words. And really what's important is, yes, how many words, but really what's more important is their automaticity rate. And that's how many words they can read in a minute. All right, so we do want to test them on all their sight words, but we also want to be checking their automaticity rate. So what I do is I give them a list of all the words, and I set the timer for a minute, and I have them start reading, and when the timer goes off, I just draw a line and they keep reading. So let's say you have 50 words that you have to teach. Their scores might be 18 over 50 and 39 over 50. So their automaticity rate is 18, and then their correct rate would be 39. Automaticity is important because, like someone asked, children should not be stretching out sight words. All right, and I'm going to tell you how I work on that in a minute. But we're going to put our 3 to 5 new words up here on what we call a parking lot. And you can see that's right up there beside our calendar. So that all week when we're doing charting and when we're playing games and when we're singing songs, these are the words we're going to be focusing on. When kids are looking around the room for words, these are the words we're going to be looking for. If we go ahead and put them up on the big word wall, they get lost in all of those other words, and then we don't tend to focus on the new words for that week. Now, this parking lot right here and these words are also a free download on KinderGals. So you can go to KinderGals on the Facebook page and download that for free. Okay, and that's what it will look like. The page will be blank where those boxes are because that's an editable document. So if you need to add in more words, you can type them in there, and then you'll have more words added to your word wall. Okay, so when we go to put the words up on the big word wall, the kids are going to add the words to their traveling word wall. So each child has a word wall where they're writing in the words. Now, what's not important here is handwriting. What's not important is that they can read all the words. What is important is that children are learning how to, number one, use a graphic organizer, because a word wall is a tree map. And number two, they're learning how a word wall works. So even if your children aren't able to read these words, they're building schema for how word walls work. And that's something that's going to go with them to first, second, third grade, because through all of those grades, teachers are establishing a word wall. Just because some people often ask, are any of these resources available? I'm going to tell you if it's free. I'm not going to talk about things that are on TPT, but I just put it on the screen, and that way if you want to know, you know, and if you don't, then don't worry about it, okay? All right, now, here's what I know. Just by putting the words up on the word wall, that does not mean the kids know the words. We all have kids who know exactly the words on the word wall, kids who don't know maybe but 2 of the words on the word wall, and then kids who know all of the words on the word wall plus more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to individually assess each of my children. So after we've been in school about a month, I pull out, because I start putting words up on the word wall like the second week of school. We put I and C like right away up on the word wall. Okay, so I'm going to, after we've been in school about a month, I'm going to pull out the list that has our first, 15, 20 sight words, 15, 10, whatever, however many you have up, plus more. And I'm going to ask the kids to tell me those words. Now, if they know it, I'm going to highlight it. Now, we all know that some kids are going to know, some of the words, and some kids are not going to know any of the words. So for those kids who I don't think might know any of the words, I just kind of show them the list and say, do you know any of these words? So that I'm not taking a real long time to assess it. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to build the kids a word ring. All right? And on the word ring, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all the words they know. Now, what we know from the research is that the brain learns best when there's a 70-30 ratio. What that means is I know 70% of this information and only 30% is new. So children need to have at least 7 known and 3 unknown on their ring. Now, if kids don't know 7 words, you can put color swatches on there. you can put numerals, you can put shapes, but you need to have 7 things on there they do know, and then the 3 new words that you're working on. Okay, now, an easy way to do that, since this is an ESGI sponsored event, I'm sure that a lot of you know about ESGI. Now, this is the overview this is what the test overview for the sight words would look like. So you can just go on ESGI, search for sight words. When the kids see it, they're going to see this screen right here. And you're going to ask them the word, and you just click yes or no at the bottom if they know the word. This will take the place of you having to keep up with all those pieces of paper, okay? Now, what we want to do is we want to print the sight words for all the children, all right? So this is what the sight word cards look like. These sight word cards match exactly the assessment. Now, if you want to print all the words, not just the ones they don't know, which is what we want all the words, so we can put the ones they do know on there for our 70%, and then the new ones for our 30%. Right there on the screen, you'll see where you can see that print complete flashcard set. Now, I will tell y'all, the ESGI has the best support team ever. So if you can't find this that I'm talking to you about, you can just get on their Facebook page, on wherever they have, where you can interact with them and ask them, and they will be glad to help you with that. Okay? Now, where are you going to know the known from the unknown? Well, the parent letter is a great place to know that, because over here it shows you all the words they got correct, and here's the ones they didn't get correct. So see, you can see we have way more than 7. All right, so then we can just pick out 3 of these that we want to put on there. They knew 18 is what you can see right there. They knew 18. Okay, I never put more than 3 unknown. Okay, just because what we're working on here is, yes, recognizing the words, but we're also working on automaticity. This is how I keep kids from sounding out words, because since they're on a ring, I flap them. They're not able to sound them out because I'm going through those words quickly, because we're working on our automaticity right there. Okay, this is what the boxes look like where I store the words. And so I have a parent volunteer that comes in each day, and she just adds the words to the kids that need words added onto their ring. She just adds those words right on there for me. Thank goodness for parent volunteers, right? Now, another thing that I do is I want parents to have these words at home. Now, you can definitely send home the ESGI parent letter and the flashcards. In this case, this was before I knew about ESGI. I created my own. So what I did was, in the summer, I created myself a folder for each week of the year. And in there, what I did was I put all the words that I'm going to introduce that week. I put the word wall words. I put my academic vocabulary words. I put my parent letter. I put the word cards that I'm going to add to my literacy centers, where the kids can use those words, you know, with the magnetic letters and the pocket chart and stuff like that. If I don't do this, here's what happens. You know, we're doing pretty good at the beginning of the year. We're getting our words up every week, and then we've been in school, you know, about 9 weeks, and all of a sudden we realize we haven't put up any words for 3 weeks because we haven't known where the words were. And so then we'd say something like, we're going to put up a lot of words today. I know you've all done that because I've done it too. And really, to put up 15 words at one time is not beneficial. You might as well just start with just 5 and forget that you missed those 2 weeks and just back your calendar up 2 weeks. But this helps keep me organized so that each week on Monday, all I have to do is pull out that folder. I've got my parent letter ready to go. I've got my words ready to go on my word wall, and I don't have to think about it. Okay, now, how else can we teach words? Well, if you've ever read anything by Marcia Tate, she is someone who works a lot. She has a book called Worksheets Don't Grow Dendrites. And if you've never read that book, you need to put that on your summer list. Worksheets Don't Grow Dendrites. It's by Marcia Tate. What she tells us is that there are 20 strategies that not only help children learn the content better, but these 20 strategies are brain-building activities. And music is one of them. We all know kids know all the words to songs that are on, you know, on their devices. But then we don't use that to our own to our own good. So this is a great way to do this, is to put the words to music. Now, some of y'all might have heard of my friend Sherry Sloan. She's a kindergarten teacher in Minnesota, and she also has a really good voice. So she's written this song, so I'm going to play a little snippet of for you so you can see what it sounds like. Hold on just a minute. I just lost the song. I had it ready to go. All right, here we go. G-O-G-O, that spells go. G-O-G-O, that spells go. M-Y-M-Y, that spells my. M-Y-M-Y, that spells T-H-E, 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 T-H-E. I can spell God, I can spell God. T-H-E, T-H-E. Okay, so a few things there. Number one, I made the little music books to go with Sherry's songs. You can find Sherry's songs on iTunes. Just go there, search for Sherry Sloan. She's got all of her music, so you can download this song for like 99 cents if that's something that you want. So I made the little music books to go with them. Now, they are a PowerPoint, and I've saved them as a PDF. And what I know from my daughter Megan, who is also a teacher, as y'all probably know, I never had a smart board in my room when I was teaching kindergarten, but Megan has one in her room, and we can take those PDFs and we can convert them to smartboard slides. Now, I'm not a pro at doing that, and if you don't know how to do it, that probably means you're in my age group. So we're just going to find a young teacher on our hall, because she's going to be able to help us do that. One thing I like about Sherry's song that I think is even better for the brain is that each length of sight word, like 2-letter words, 3-letter words, 4-letter words, she changes to a different tune. So that tune registers with the brain as, oh yeah, this word has 3 letters. Oh yeah, this word has 2 letters. Okay? Now, another really cool thing is there's a girl named Sandy that has these wonderful aprons, and I will put the link for her website in my blog post because I don't have it on the screen there. But these are great for building sight words in, but you can also use them for names, for sequencing. She has all kinds of sets of cards that you can use with those. Okay, so here we have our words on our parking lot. And now what are we going to do with those words? So what I did was I just made myself this little book. It's nothing fancy, all right? Because in the book, what I wanted to have was the different ways we teach the children to spell the word. So that each day when we're going through these words, I don't want it to always be the same thing. So think about raise the roof, okay? You know what that means. You push your hands up in the air. So each time the kids spell the word can, they push their hands up. So push up C, push up A, push up N, all right? If you're doing like a mouse, the kids are going to actually sound like a mouse. Spell can, C-A-N, can. So what it is just a different way so that each day when we're going over our sight words, we're not doing the same thing. Okay? Here's just some more of those ways. I often ask people, I can tell how old they are by what movie they know John Travolta from. So think about that. What movie do you know John Travolta from? Because if you say Pulp Fiction, you're very young, because most of us would say, in my age group, would say Saturday Night Fever. Okay, all right. Now, there's another, and I've kind of got this over where you can't see it, but there's a blog called Growing Kinders. You might have seen that website, that blog before. It's Kathleen Peterson's website blog. So she's got these on her blog as a free download, or you can put them on sticks and put them in a can, and then each day just pull one out. Dee Dee actually has them on some cards in her unit on TPT, so you could put these on a ring. She also has them where you can print this off and put them on paint sticks. These are just some creative ways that you can do your words from your word wall each day. Okay. Now, another thing is we also want to play games with each of these words. Okay. So one thing we could do is called pass the ball. So the first child holds the ball and they say the word. So if the word was can, the first child would say can. The second child would say see. The third child would say a. The fourth child would say in. The fifth child would say can. And then you show them a new word. You could have them roll a numeral dice, and then they're going to look for all the words that only have that many letters on the word wall. One that they really love is with a flashlight, and I found some free flashlights at a CVS grand opening. They had these freebies, and I dug through the box. I don't know how many I was supposed to take, but I took enough for my whole class to have one. They were those little keychain flashlights, and I could say, starlight, star bright, find the word is tonight. And they would all have to take their flashlight and find the word is somewhere in the room. Now, if you only have one flashlight, turn off the lights and you have the flashlight and you wave it around in the air and you say, starlight, star bright, name the word I shine on tonight. And then you just shine it on a word anywhere in the classroom that's one of your words for the week, and then the kids have to read that word. All right. So here are those games. Pass the ball, flashlight words, roll a dice. Let me show you these other games. So we've all played hangman, even though at school now I call this build, because with where our country and our world is now, hangman just doesn't seem politically correct anymore. But most of us know it as the game hangman. So we've all played it before. When you play the game at home, you know, the object is to trick the person that's trying to guess it. But that's not the object at school. The object at school is to get the kids to guess the word. So here's a few ways I've changed the hangman game. First of all, everyone has a dry erase board. All right, everyone's going to be responsible for drawing the lines and taking a guess. Also, they need a list of the words. Now, I have these words. They're sitting where they can see the word wall. And if you'll notice that little boy's head at the bottom part of the screen, that's because the kids sitting at the table are the ones that I know I'm going to need to see about. All right? My other kids are sitting around on the floor behind that table where they can still see the word wall. If your kids have a hard time with transferring from that word wall down, you can also put the words on a list and put it right there on the table beside them. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to say my word has 3 letters, and I'm going to draw my 3 lines. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go to the word wall. We're going to spend time, we're going to read each word, and we're going to decide, does this word have 3 letters? Does it meet the criteria? All right, so then the kids draw the 3 lines and they write their guess. So some might have can, some might have see, some might have the. Then someone guesses a letter. Now, hopefully they guess a letter that's in their word, but sometimes kids don't get that, okay? But they guess the letter. So let's say they say E, and you put E in the last spot, okay? So if they have can, then they need to erase their word because it couldn't be can. If they have see or the, she, those words could all be the right answer. So what you do now is you go back to the word wall and you're looking for a 3-letter word that ends with E. The point here is we're spending most of our time interacting with the word wall. The game, which is another one of Marcia Tate's 20 strategies for producing brain power, is just the tool that we're using to get to those words. Another game we like to play is called SWAT. Now, you might have played this game and called it bang or pop or boom. It's all the same game. I play it all year long, just changing my clip art to something different. But we put all the cards in the bug box and the kids pass it around the circle. Each kid pulls out a word. They read the word. We put the word in the middle of the circle. When somebody pulls out the fly swatter that has the word SWAT on it, then all of the words have to go back into the can. All right, another game we play, which is actually called SWAT, is we play it like this. You put the word cards, and if I have some pre-K people that have maybe joined in, just know that all these games I'm showing you, even at the beginning of the year, you could change this to alphabet or colors or numbers or anything really that you want to have on the cards. But what the kids are going to do is you're going to call out a word. A couple of your kids have fly swatters. Now, in this case, we have snowmen and suns, and the suns are trying to melt the snowmen. So if you say the word see, then the kids are looking for the word see, and when they find it, they hit it with the fly swatter. Okay, the first kid hits it, then the second kid hits it. Both kids that have fly swatters get to hit the word. They hit the word, they say it. So if the word was see, they would hit the word. They would say see, S-E-E-C. We're working on that repetition, that memory work here. Okay? So here's the example of what that game actually looks like. Okay, now let's look for a few minutes at vocabulary words, okay? So what we're looking at here first is academic vocabulary. Children's ability to have an academic vocabulary is going to affect their ability to comprehend the standards. And what I mean by that is if we're using words like subtract and more and less and equal, and children don't know what those words mean, then they're going to have a hard time mastering the standards. So what we did was we went through our standards and we picked out every single academic word. And each week, any new words that we're going to be using in our instruction, and this is something I have in those weekly folders that I showed you earlier, any new words we're going to be using in our instruction, they get added up onto our math word wall. This is and this is what the word cards actually look like, okay? These are the math words. The others were the literacy words, all right? But then what we want to do is we want to think, what are the most important words? What words, if they don't know them, when they go to first grade, is going to be really a bad thing? Which are the most important words? Like if children don't know the words more, less, and fewer, there's going to be a really big learning curve. All right, just think, what are those most important words? Most of the ones we choose come out of the number standards because we know that number is the big kahuna. So we follow Marzano's thinking, and here's what we're going to do. First of all, the children need to do a non-linguistic representation of the word. So the kids are going to actually draw a picture to show what that word means. Guys, if you can draw a picture, which is another one of Marcia Tate's strategies, by the way, if you can draw a picture of something, that shows your comprehension of that word. Okay, so after they've all done that, we come back together on the carpet and we talk about that word. We together as a group formulate our definition. Now, this isn't, guys, where you're giving them a definition. You're saying, you don't say, now more means, this is where children are coming up with their meaning. This isn't a new word. That's something important for you to know. Whereas the words we're putting on the word wall are new words, this is a word that has been up on that word wall for 3, 4, 5 weeks. Okay, you're only picking one of these words to do each week. One literacy word, one math word. Okay, we've all remembered back when we were in school and we would have vocabulary tests and they would be like, it would be matching. The vocabulary words would be on the left and the definitions would be on the right, and we drew lines. Well, how many of you really knew what those words meant? How many of you just memorized key words that would go with that word so that you could match them up? Make 100 and still not know what the words mean. Okay, here's a literacy example, the word vowel. I mean, vowel's a pretty important word. Okay, so here you can see we've written our definition, and the children have drawn their non-linguistic representation of that word. Now, the kids can also do their own response pages, okay, where they write in the word, they draw the picture, and they write their definition. So what I would do is if I wanted to put this as a center, then if this week we did more, less, and fewer as our center, as our large group activity, then next week I could put that over there as a center for kids to do independently to just remind them of what we learned the week before. Another kind of vocabulary is called content vocabulary. Now, these words are tier 3 vocabulary words, and what that means is content vocabulary is only important if you are engaged in that topic. For example, how many of you know a lot of medical words? Probably not. But if I go to talk to my husband, who's an engineer, and I start using words like phonemic awareness and phonological understanding, he has no idea what I'm talking about, okay? Just like with him when I went to dinner with him last night with a bunch of his people from his job, and they were using all these acronyms. I had no idea what they were talking about. Content words are only important if you are involved in that content. So why is this important for kids? Well, for comprehension. One of the things you might know is that when kids have their reading level, their nonfiction level is usually below their fiction level. And the reason why is because of the vocabulary. So when you are covering your science and social studies themes, all right, your standards in science and social studies, and that's what we base our themes around, we develop our content vocabulary. So each week, like in this example, you can see we were doing winter. Each week, the kids help me brainstorm a list of words associated with winter. I'm writing them on the little Post-it notes, and then I'm going to stick them on the chart. You can see right here, this was an animal one. All right, I'm sticking them on the chart under what letter it begins with. Now, the first week, those words are from their schema, right? These are words they already knew because we're just starting that unit of study. But the next week and the next week, because I'm never going to do a topic for just 1 week because then my kids can never really take it to a deeper level of understanding. So that second and third week, the new words are the new learning. These are words that they have learned through your teaching. Okay? Now, as I'm doing that, the kids are building their own unit word wall, okay? So it looks like it's in a file folder. Guys, that is not, it is glued on a file folder, but that is not right. What you want is you want this in a 3-prong folder, okay? You can probably notice on the right side, you can tell that those are in a 3-prong folder over there, okay? So each week as I'm adding the words, they're adding the words. Now you can see I've had kids draw a little picture by the words because while we're building this during our word work, each day we do a different kind of word work, and one day it is theme, vocabulary, word work. As we're doing that, the kids aren't really learning how to use this. They're learning just how to make it. So then during Writer's Workshop, I can bring this back as a mini lesson and show children how if I want to write a piece about pets, then I can use this to help me with the words. So the picture beside that will help the kids know what those words say because whereas probably most of them can read dog or cat, I bet there's probably quite a few that cannot read hermit crab, okay? Okay, so now let's look for a few minutes at solving unknown words. What do kids do when they get to a word and they don't know it? And this is when we're moving into our leveled reading. So first of all, one of the things that I had said in the write-up that I was going to connect with y'all is the idea of a mini lesson. Now, we're not going to go really deep on a mini lesson. I'm going to give you a resource to go and watch to see this in action. But what you can see there is that there are 4 parts to the mini lesson. All right, first there's the connect, and this is where we're reminding children what we did the last time. Then there's the teach, and this is where we're using that academic vocabulary and we're telling children what the new learning is going to be. And then we do our teaching, okay, and we model, all right? And then we move to active engagement, and this is where the kids right there at the mini lesson try the new learning, okay? And then the last is where we do the link, and this is where we remind kids what we just learned. Now you see those words in quotation, and here's why. The brain learns by pattern. Now it seeks novelty, which is why we do things like writing with shaving cream and dribble a ball to spell and sing to do the spelling words, because those are all novelties. But the brain learns by pattern, okay? So when we do a lesson, if we provide the brain a structure, the brain is the happiest, right? So we're going to do these same 4 steps every mini lesson. And really, anytime you have a large group lesson, that should be a mini lesson. All right? We're also going to build pattern by repeating the same phrases. So you see those words in quotation marks? That's because those are the same words I say every time. Now, if you're already doing this and you've already got your rhythm and you've already got your language, that's great. If this is new to you and you're like, I don't even know the language, then just copy this screen down, okay? Right now, take your camera, take your phone, take a picture of the screen, okay? Or go back later and watch it when it gets put up for the rerun. But you want to put these words on a card and keep them right up front with you so that when you are doing your small group your mini lessons, you have those words there. Because what's important is the pattern, saying the same thing. It lets the brain know what's about to happen. Now, what you're going to be able to do is, and I'm going to tell you in a minute, I have a YouTube video that shows that in action. And when I get to that part in this PowerPoint, I'll let you know about that, okay? What we did was, Michelle is my partner in crime. She and I work together really well. So when we got to thinking about teaching kids unknown words, what we knew was that we would have kids ready at all different times, and we were going to cover that in guided reading. But that for our mini lessons that the whole class was going to receive, we were going to intersperse our reading strategies throughout the year. So like the third month of school, we're starting mini lessons with reading strategies, okay? So here's my anchor chart that I used for there. All right, so what we teach them is I can read some words really fast. So what are those words? Those are our sight words. This is where we go over, you don't stretch out sight words. You know it or you don't, okay? We don't want kids stretching out sight words. Don't ever show kids sight words and say, think about it. What could the word be? Look at the letters. No, sight words are things you know them or you don't. You move on if you don't know it. And then we teach the two basic strategies, looking at the picture and looking at the first letter. All right, so for example, on this one, this might be an easy one you could do. You just take some Post-it notes and you cover up those pictures, and you read, I see and we don't know what that word is, so let's look at the picture, and you just take the Post-it note off, okay? If we're wanting to teach children to look at the first letter, we could do something like this. So we have look at the, okay, and then we have a picture of a dog in there. Now you see over on the right, you have the picture of the lamb sheep, Valentine hearts, plain jet. All right, so how about the look at the, is that a dog or is that a puppy? Okay, so when you have a rebus sentence, look at the dog, and then you take out that picture and you put in the word, either dog or puppy, children have to go back and check. Is that word dog? If it starts with a P, then that word can't be dog. What other word could it be? Okay, so for a couple months in our large group lessons, in our shared readings, in our charting, these two strategies we are using constantly. Now, with my children that are more advanced, who are already like doing some reading, I'm moving on in the strategies with them during guided reading. But as far as large group mini lesson teaching, read alouds, shared reading, interactive read alouds, any of that kind of stuff, and we're using strategies, I'm sticking to those two. Look at the picture, look at the first letter. But then when we get to the fifth month, we're going to add some new ones. So we're still going to teach them to look at the first letter. Then we teach them to switch it up. And this is where if they said rabbit and then they have to switch it to bunny. We also show them that whereas like the snake further down the bottom, we say stretch it out. We don't want kids sitting over there going, b, g, We don't want kids stretching out hamburger like that, right? So we want kids to know that some words you just look all the way through. And by looking at the letters that you see in the beginning, in the middle, and the end, and then the fact that you're reading it in context is going to help you figure out that word. Here's a good example of having them switch it up with the first letter. So I made these little cards that I show them the card with the frog, with the FR, but then I flap the card over and there's a T in the front. So we would say, I see frog, and then I turn it over, they'd say, nope, I see toad, and they would have to change it to what it is, to the letter, okay? So if this was a mini lesson, I would say, remember yesterday when we, and I would remind them what we did yesterday. Then I would say, today I'm going to show you what good readers do when they get to a word and they need to change the word. Let me show you what I mean. And so I would practice with a few of them, and I would share with them my thinking, how I figured it out. All right. And then for the active engagement part, I would have some more cards, and I would have them scoot over close to a partner, and I would have them whisper to their partner. I would show them, like if I was using the frog one with them, I would show it, and they would whisper to their partner, frog. And then when I flapped over the T, they would look at their partner and they would say, toad. All right. Okay. Now, with Stretch It Out, y'all, my favorite song that Jack Hartman does, well, one of my favorite, how can you have a favorite with him, is Stretchy the Word Snake. Now, one thing I'll tell you, if you don't know Jack Hartman, you need to know Jack Hartman. You can find him on YouTube. He has a YouTube channel. So just go on YouTube, type in Jack Hartman. The reason why I tell you that is he has tons of, and I'm not sure if this one is, but he has tons of his songs on YouTube that are absolutely free. Okay, y'all hear what I'm saying? Free. All right, so with this one, we used that song, Stretchy the Word Snake, and the kids had a rubber band, and I was building the snakes, and as I built the snakes, they stretch out the band to stretch out the word. Okay, the last thing that we teach them during that month is how your partners can help you when you get to a word you don't know. So what I've done is I've made, this is my anchor chart, but I've also made these bookmarks. Here's one of the things that I know when I think about interventions. Here's one of the things that came to me one day. Is it that they don't know it, or is it that they don't remember that they know it? So one thing I do is I make these bookmarks for my kids to keep in their bag of books. We have them at our guided reading table. And I teach them to go back to your resources. So when you get to a word you don't know and you can't think of how to figure it out, look at your bookmark. What on here is going to help you remember what you can do when you get to a word you don't know? The bookmarks have been amazing. Okay? Now, then we get to the 7th month. And guys, we're like, this is in March. In March, because we get out of school the end of May. So March is do or die, really, in Georgia. I mean, you got to know it, because by April, they're starting with testing, and by May, basically, like right now, we're doing all of our end of the year testing. So if they don't know it by then, you're kind of out of luck. So I don't wait to the end of the year. I want to come back to it now. And so what we did was we were trying to think of our boys, because, you know, our boys are typically our most reluctant readers. And so instead of using Beanie Babies, which, you know, maybe some boys don't find very cool, what we did was we used a real toolbox, and we brought a real toolbox in, and we talked about how, you know, construction workers have tools. And have you ever seen your, you know, your dad or your uncle or your grandma or your grandpa or anybody else use a tool? And we take all the tools out of the box and we look at them. And then the next day we start into our strategies. Now, these are all pretty much reviews except for the hammer and the screwdriver. Those are two tools that they've really not used much yet. Okay, so first day, just bring out the toolbox, right? The second day, we're going to talk about goggles, and we bring out real goggles. And, you know, the big scientist goggles, which our kids all have a pair because we use them for our Mad Scientist Fridays. But we bring those out, and we talk about using our eyes to look at the picture. On the next day, when we talk about the wrench, because the wrench kind of looked like an open mouth, this is where we teach kids to get your mouth ready. So if they're reading, look up at the top. Look at my, and then there's an F. All right, look at my, and then we flap the rest of that page back over, and it finishes the word and shows the picture. So it's a matter of getting your mouth ready, because what we have found through the research is that if the kids can get the word started, then the content of the sentence helps them come up with the rest of the word. Okay? With stretching out words, I did a lesson using a tape measure. And I talked about how when you pull out a tape measure, you can see just a few of the letters at a time, a few of the numbers at a time, and that made me think about what we do with reading. And so I made these little tape measures, and I just pull the word out, and during the teach part, I model and I share my thinking about how I'm thinking about what this word could be. And then for the active engagement, I just use different words and have them get elbow to elbow with their partner, and they stretch the words out together. With our drill, we learn to look through the word. Other words, with like and look, we don't want kids stretching those words out. All right, we want them to look through the word, and because of the configuration and because of the letters that they see, they should be able to see the difference between those words. We work on hit it or skip it, because this is a real problem with kids when they start reading in leveled readers, is they get to a word they don't know and they just leave their finger on that word and then start staring off into space. So if we were doing the first sentence, we might say, we can in the lake. Oh yeah, we can swim in the lake. All right, so they hit it or they skip it. So they take a guess. We can sit in the lake. No, we don't sit in a lake. Let's go back and try it again, okay? There again, we've made a bookmark, all right? And the kids have their bookmark so that they can either remind themselves or remind their neighbor. I teach my kids, when your friend asks you what a word is, don't tell your friend what the word is. Show your friend how they can figure the word out. So they learn that when their friend says, what's this word? They say, let's get out our bookmark, all right? And they get out their bookmark and they go through and they think about which strategy is going to help them with the word. Now, let's just say right here that when kids are doing that, comprehension goes out the window, right? So what we have to teach children to do is to reread. So after we solve the word using one of our strategies, we've got the whole sentence. Now let's go back and read the whole sentence together. Okay. Now this is a great little toolbox that another friend of mine made, and I can put her link on too. So because it's not on there on my screen either, but this is made by a store called Katie and Company. I gave her permission to use my strategies with my tools. So that's my chart, but she made the tools and made a little toolbox, and she sells these in her store. They are really, really cute. Now, I would not have one of these for every child. Someone once asked me that. I would have this at my guided reading group table so that when I'm wanting kids to remember a particular strategy, I can bring out a tool. If I want them to decide which strategy is going to work best for this word, I can show them 2 tools and they would have to think about which strategy would work best. At the end of the unit, the kids each made their own toolbox. Now this was super fun. It's just a paper bag and you're going to tear it down on the 4 corners, and then you just push the 2 side flaps and the front flap down inside of the bag, and then the back flap becomes the lid, and then you just add a pipe cleaner handle. All right, and then in the lid we actually taped our little book that has all of our reading tools and what that tool tells us to do. Then the kids made the tools, and we put the tools down inside the box. Now, they're not like just making this and taking this home, okay? We make this and we wear it out in the classroom. They use it in their bag of books. They bring it to their guided reading table. The visual reminder, gosh, and I can't think of that word right now. Y'all might know what word I'm thinking of. When you look at a screwdriver and that reminds you to drive on, okay, there's a word for that. That's actually one of Marsha's 20 strategies. I just can't think of the word right now. But we want to keep practicing that. Somebody probably is typing the word in the comments. I just can't see the comments, okay? All right, now let's look at CVC words. We got about 5 minutes left, so let's go fast through this. Of course, CVC words, one of the things that we also think about with these are word families. We do want to teach kids to stretch a CVC word and hit all 3 sounds, but we also want kids to learn to chunk words, and we teach that with word families. I love these activities with these magnetic letters because everybody has magnetic letters. So I just gave them some word cards that had, and I found this really cute clip art that looked like magnetic letters, and that's what I made that with. And then the kids just have to put the word, the pictures in the left column, and then build the words beside that. Right here, they're doing they're building the CVC words, okay? So they're having to stretch each word and build the word. Now, this is a really cool thing called a word ladder. And this is great for those CVC words. So they start off with the word cat, all right? And then you say, okay, let's build cap. Let's take off the T, add the P. Now we want to make map. Which letter do we need to change in cap to make map? All right, now we want to make mop. Which word in map do we need to change to make mop? Guys, we actually have a standard that goes for this. And it's the standard that reads, the children will be able to change the letter in all three positions of the word to create a new word. And that's exactly what we're doing there, okay? Now, how about a freebie? So since we didn't talk a lot about the CVC words, I decided to make you a freebie that has CVCE words, because I figure by this time of year, that's probably where you are. So with this one, what they're going to do is you're going to run off these two strips and you're going to tape them together to make a long game board, okay? And then the kids take a dice. You need a Unifix cube on the onset column and a Unifix cube on the rhyme column. Now you can see the picture I'm showing you on the right actually shows the kids playing this with CVC words, yes. But what I've done for y'all is I've created as a CVCE game. Okay, so they're going to roll the dice. It landed on 2. So they moved the first Unifix cube, that orange Unifix cube, they moved it 2 places. They went T and then P. Then on the next one, they rolled a 1. So they're just going to move that Unifix cube to that first little child. You can't see the letters because they're under her hand. But then they come up on the recording page and they write their word. So they would write P, and then let's say underneath their hand are the letters A-T. They would write P-A-T. And then they would have the word pat. So they're going to do that 6 times. Now, don't fall into this trap. Everything I tell y'all not to do is because I did it myself, and that's have the kids put this in their cubby because they've really not done anything until they read the words to you. So I always have a tray where my kids put their centers when they get done, and then I can come back later and have them read that word to me. This one is a spinner game. So this is Mr. Snake's Ache Words. So what they're going to do is they're going to spin the spinner. So you can see she's doing Mrs. Cat's at words. Spin the spinner. Whatever letter it lands on, so let's say it landed on a B, she would write, well, here it landed on an M. You can't see that very good, but she wrote M-A-T, and then right here she drew a picture to show me what that word was. With this one right here, they're stretching silly willy words and real deal words. I've made yours, if you look right here, I've made yours with CVCE words again. Why would kids put words in the wrong column? Well, if they have it in the silly willy word, like you see how she has sag in the silly willy side, it's probably because she doesn't know what that word meant. Same thing as if they have SOL in the real deal side. Okay, that's because in the South, that's how we spell Saul. I saw you at Walmart last night, Miss Adsit. I saw you there. So sometimes they're going to make mistakes because of either their language or because of their dialect, okay? I've also got this where they can roll the onset dice and then the rhyme dice. And then in the little book, the cheerleader book, they would write, like, let's say they landed on an R. They would write R, and then they would write A-M-E, R-A-M-E. What does that spell? Rame. Okay, these are going to be nonsense words, okay? Here's a silly willy real deal. Remember that game where we put the cards in the bug box? This is the same game there, okay? All right, now I'm going to turn this back over to Rochelle because she's going to do the giveaways. I will tell y'all, if you don't win, be sure you go on ESGI anyway. You can all get a 2-month free trial. Just put in my code ADSIT, and that will give you the free trial. If you decide to purchase, like down the road, you decide you want to purchase it, because you've put in that code ADSIT, you'll actually get $40 off the purchase price. Okay? All right, Rochelle, are you there?
Yes, so many great things that we've learned today, and just wait till you read everyone's comments, Kim. You're going to love it. They have been so attentive, and they have so many great questions and comments for you. But here we go. Here are the prizes for tonight. Again, you didn't have to register. We just picked from the attendees at random. The winners of the free years of ESGI are Kathy Bishop, Judy Blessy, Laurel Cather, Christina Morrison, and Stephanie Sprague or Sprague. Stephanie Sprague. So Kathy Bishop, Judy Blessy, Laurel Cather, Christina Morrison, and Stephanie Sprague. You will be receiving an email from us with the directions on how you can redeem your free year of ESGI. Congratulations to all of you. Thank you so much, Kim, for presenting these great ideas today. Don't forget to follow Kim on her blog, Kindergals, where she'll be answering specific questions that you asked today. And don't forget to check your email in the next week. It won't happen overnight, so wait a week to find your certificate of participation, which this will also have a link to the recording of this webinar and Kim's freebie that she talked about. We hope all of you have enjoyed the celebrity webinar this month, Wacky Words. And if you've missed any of our other webinars, please go on our YouTube channel and you can watch all of them. Thank you so much for coming, and thanks again, Kim, for this wonderful information.
Thank you.
Have a great night, everyone.